The moment everything stopped, that sun was harsh that day, almost too bright for the soft mood of the scene they were filming. Keanu Reeves stood quietly under the shade of a canopy, going through his lines with calm focus. The director was shouting instructions. The crew moved like a machine, and in the middle of it all, Armas was giving everything she had to her performance. They were filming a dramatic scene in a long, emotional sequence. Anna had to cry, stumble across a dusty street, and collapse to the ground. It was meant to be a performance about grief and survival. She had rehearsed it over and over, pushing herself to get it right. But something was wrong. Keanu noticed it first. Not through words, not through any obvious signal, just a feeling. Anna's steps faltered in a way that wasn't part of the script. Her eyes were glassy, not from acting, but from something real. Her breathing was shallow, and just as she raised her hand to steady herself, her knees buckled. There was no drama in her fall, no cry, no warning. Ana de Armas simply fainted on set. The set fell silent. Someone shouted her name. A medic rushed forward. The director paused the shoot. People were confused, frightened. Some whispered that maybe she hadn't eaten. Others said the heat was too much. But none of that mattered in the moment. Mattered was that Anna lay still on the ground. Keanu didn't move at first. It's not out of fear, but out of deep stillness, as if time had stopped for him. Then slowly he walked toward her, not running, not panicked, but with a calm that made people step back and make space for him. He knelt beside her, brushed the hair from her face, and called her name softly. Anna. She didn't respond. The medic checked her pulse. She's okay, just passed out. Probably exhaustion. People nodded, relieved. But Keanu didn't move. He sat down beside her and took off his jacket, placing it under her head. She needs to rest. Don't rush her, he said, his voice steady. Someone brought water. Someone else tried to convince him to step away, to let the crew handle it. But Keanu refused to leave. She gave everything to this scene, he whispered. Now she needs someone to give something back, so he stayed. Minutes turned to half an hour, then an hour. Anna still hadn't fully woken up. The medic said she was fine, just deeply exhausted. They wanted to move her to her trailer. Keanu gently disagreed. Not yet, he said. She'll wake up scared if she's in a different place. Let her wake up right here, where she fell, with someone she knows beside her. No one argued after that. The crew slowly moved to the edges of the set. People kept working quietly in the background. But Keanu sat there, cross-legged on the hard ground, beside Anna. Oh. The sun moved higher. He didn't complain. He didn't check his phone. He didn't ask when filming would resume. Instead, he held her hand. In that small act, it changed the air around them. People watched from a distance. Crew members who had known Keanu for years said they'd never seen him like this before, so still, so focused, so deeply present. A young assistant, not more than 20, whispered to a grip, "Why doesn't he just go relax?" "She's fine." The grip smiled and said, "That's Keanu. He doesn't walk away from people. Not when it matters." And finally Anna stirred. Her fingers twitched. Her eyes fluttered open, blinking against the bright sky. And the first face she saw was Keanu's. His voice was gentle, softer than a whisper. "Hey, take your time." Anna looked around, confused, her breath shaky. What? What happened? You fainted," he said. "You pushed too hard." Her eyes welled up with tears. Not from pain, but from the simple truth that someone had stayed. "How long have I been out?" she asked. "Almost 2 hours," he replied. She gasped. "You've been here the whole time?" Keanu nodded. "I wasn't going to leave you." Anna tried to sit up, but he stopped her. "Not yet. Rest first." She reached for his hand again. "Thank you," he smiled. "You'd have done the same for me." Anna looked around and saw how the set had changed. No shouting, no rushing. People were watching them quietly. Many of them moved. The energy of the place had shifted. What had begun as a shoot turned into something much more human, and in that moment, Anna realized something. It wasn't just about acting. It wasn't about lights, cameras, or the final cut. It was about the people you stand beside when no one's watching. Keanu's single quotes or silence had spoken louder than any dialogue they had ever shared on screen, and she knew, deep in her heart, that from that day on, nothing between them would ever be the same. The quiet after the storm the next morning, Anna woke up in her trailer with a soft ache in her chest. Not physical pain, something else, something heavier. It was a strange feeling, like her body had been emptied the day before and today was the first time she could feel what was missing. She sat on the edge of her bed, barefoot, holding a glass of water. Her phone had dozens of missed messages, but she didn't open any of them. The only name she looked for was Keanu's. There was no message from him, yet she didn't feel abandoned. She knew Keanu well enough by now. Wasn't the kind of man who said much in words. He spoke through actions, through stillness, presence, kindness that didn't ask for attention. Anna touched her forehead, where she remembered his jacket resting under her head. She didn't remember everything clearly, but she remembered his voice. How calm it had been, how he never left her side. Outside, the crew was already busy preparing for another day of shooting. Anna stood, stretched, and got dressed. Her body felt slow, but her mind was sharper than it had been in weeks. The exhaustion hadn't just been physical, it had come from months of pressure, sleepless nights, and the weight of always trying to be perfect. As she stepped outside, the morning air hit her skin gently. A few crew members waved, smiled, nodded, but there was something different in their eyes. They weren't looking at her like she was just a star anymore. They were looking at her like a person. Anna smiled back softly. Then she saw him. Keanu was sitting on a wooden bench, alone, reading a script. His hair was slightly messy from the breeze, and he wore a plain black hoodie. Nothing about him screamed Hollywood legend. He looked like a man completely at peace in the quiet dot. Anna walked toward him slowly. She didn't want to disturb him. She just wanted to stand near him, even for a minute. But he looked up before she could say anything. His smile was small but warm. "Hey," he said. "Hey," she replied. Sitting beside him, for a few seconds, neither of them said a word. The silence wasn't awkward, it was healing. Then Keanu closed his script gently and turned toward her. "How do you feel?" "Lighter," she said, "but also like I've been carrying something for too long. And yesterday, my body finally said enough." Keanu nodded. "Our bodies are wiser than we are. They speak when we stop listening." Anna looked down. "I didn't want anyone to know I was struggling." "I know," he said, "but they know now, and that's not a bad thing." She looked into his eyes, searching. "Why did you stay, Keanu? 7 hours?" "You could have gone back to your trailer, taken a break." He thought for a moment. "Because no one should wake up alone," he said simply, "especially not after something like that." Anna's eyes filled with tears again, but this time she didn't try to hide them. "You saved me," she whispered. Keanu shook his head. "You saved yourself. I just didn't walk away." The day continued. They didn't film much. The director postponed the emotional scenes. Anna spent time sitting with the crew, something she hadn't done in weeks. She laughed, she shared snacks, she even helped carry a few props. People noticed something about her had changed. But it wasn't weakness. It was softness, openness, the kind that comes after breaking. Just enough to let the light in. Keanu watched her from a distance. He didn't hover. He didn't ask for thanks. Simply let her be. But that evening, as the sun dipped low behind the hills, Anna walked up to him again. This time, she handed him something. His jacket. "You left it with me yesterday," she said. Keanu took it with a smile. "Thanks." She paused, then added, "I don't think I would have come back today if you hadn't stayed." He looked at her, not with surprise, but with understanding. "Sometimes all someone needs is one person to believe in them," he said. "Just one." Anna nodded. "I hope I can be that person for someone someday." Keanu looked at her with quiet pride. "You already are." That night, Anna couldn't sleep, not because of stress, but because of clarity. Her heart was full of things she hadn't felt in a long time: gratitude, connection, the strange peace that comes after breaking. down and finding someone still there beside you, she opened her notebook and started writing. Not a script, not dialogue, just feelings, raw, real feelings. In the quiet of her trailer, she wrote one sentence again and again. He didn't leave. Those 3 words kept her anchored, and without realizing it, Anna was starting to change, not just as an actress, but as a person. What had happened wasn't just a medical scare, it was a moment of awakening. And something inside her had shifted. The hidden way 3 days had passed since Anna fainted on set. The weather had cooled a little, and so had the pace of filming. The production team adjusted the schedule to give her time, but Anna didn't ask for rest. She showed up early, stayed late, and delivered every scene with quiet strength. But something inside her had changed. It wasn't just how she worked, it was how she carried herself. She no longer tried to be perfect. She stopped apologizing for needing breaks. She laughed more, and she looked at people, really looked when they spoke to her. Yet underneath it all, she still felt the weight. Not from the fall, not from exhaustion. It was something deeper. Something she had carried alone for too long. Keanu noticed it. He watched her from a distance during lunch breaks. She was smiling, yes, talking, yes. But every now and then her eyes would drift into silence, like she was holding back a storm. One afternoon, during a break between scenes, Keanu found her sitting alone on a low stone wall. Looking at the mountains beyond the set, he walked up quietly and sat beside her. For a while, neither of them said anything. Then Keanu asked, "Do you want to tell me what's really going on?" Anna didn't answer at first. The wind brushed her hair across her face, and she tucked it behind her ear. Her voice, when it came, was soft. "Don't know how to talk about it. Try," he said gently. "I'm not going anywhere." She looked down at her hands. "I used to love this work," she said. "I used to wake up excited, filled with energy. But lately, it's like I'm walking through fog. I try so hard, but nothing feels enough. And every time I think I'm getting better, something happens like what happened that day on. It reminds me how fragile I really am." Keanu listened without interrupting. Anna's voice trembled. "People think I'm strong. They think I have it all figured out. But the truth is, most days, I'm just pretending." She finally looked at him. "How do you do it, Keanu? Do you stay grounded, kind, come even, when everything is chaos?" Keanu breathed deeply, then exhaled slowly. "Because I've been through my own chaos," he said. "More than most people know. I learned something. The hard way kindness isn't something you give when life is easy. It's something you choose when life breaks you." Anna's eyes welled up, but she didn't look away. "Do you ever get tired of carrying everything alone?" she asked. Keanu smiled gently. "Every day. But I also know that we're never truly alone, even when we feel like it." Anna took that in slowly. Then Keanu reached into his pocket and pulled out a small stone. It was smooth and white with a tiny crack running down the middle. "I found this years ago during a really hard time," he said. "I kept it because of the crack. It reminded me that even broken things can be beautiful." He placed it in Anna's palm. "Keep it," he said. "And every time you feel like you're falling apart, remember, you're still here, still standing. That matters more than you know." Anna held the stone tightly. Her throat ached from trying not to cry. "Thank you," she whispered. Keanu stood up. "Come on, we've got a sunset shot to catch." She smiled and followed. That evening, the scene was intense, full of emotion, pain, reconciliation between their characters. It was the kind of scene that demanded honesty. No fake tears, no forced delivery. Anna stood in front of Keanu, lights fading behind them, camera rolling. Her voice cracked in the middle of a line, not from the script, but from real feeling. The director almost called cut, but didn't. Keanu stepped forward, took her hands, and stayed in character, but also stayed present, grounded. Real Anna delivered the rest of the scene with tears running down her face. When the scene ended, the set was silent. No applause. No cheers, just respect. The director quietly said, "That's the one. We're not doing another take." Anna walked away slowly. Her chest was shaking. Not from nerves, but release. Keanu caught up with her. You okay? He asked. She nodded. I think that was the first time I didn't act. I just let it out. It showed, he said softly. Anna looked at him, the last of the sunset glowing in her eyes. I'm scared, Keanu, she said. Scared that if people see the real me, they'll be disappointed, he answered without hesitation. The real you is the most beautiful part. She broke into tears again, but this time she didn't turn away. She let them fall. She let him see. And Keanu didn't say anything more. He just stood beside her once again without leaving. The letter she never meant to send next morning felt different. Anna woke up before sunrise. Her body still ached from the emotional scene the night before, but her heart was quiet. It's not empty, just calm. She stepped outside her trailer, holding a warm mug of tea, and sat on the wooden steps. The air was still. The sky slowly changed from gray to gold. Birds chirped in the distance, and the world felt like it was breathing gently, for the first time in a long while. She didn't feel rushed. Inside her trailer was the small white stone Keanu had given her. She had placed it near her mirror, where she would see it every morning. The crack in the middle reminded her of herself, and how somehow she was still standing. Anna picked up her journal and started writing. But the words that came out were not just about the day or the film. They were about him, about Keanu. It started as a simple thank you, but turned into more. You didn't just sit beside me when I fainted. You saw me. Really saw me. I don't know how to explain it, but you brought me back to myself. Every word you said, every quiet moment you shared, it changed something. In me, I'm scared to tell you this in person. Scared to ruin what we have. But if I could speak without fear, I'd say this being near you has become my safest place. She didn't mean to write a letter. She hadn't planned it, but now it sat on the page. Full of things she had never said out loud. She stared at the words for a long time, then folded the page gently, tucked it into an envelope, and wrote nothing. On the front, a knock at the door startled her. It was the production assistant. They're calling you to set, Anna. She nodded, slipped the envelope into her bag, and walked out. That day's shoot was light, just a few simple scenes in a garden. Between takes, Anna found herself glancing at Keanu more than usual, not in a romantic way, or maybe it was. More than anything, it was in a deeply human way. He was kind to everyone. He helped a young crew member lift a heavy light. He thanked the catering team. He helped an older extra find shade during a long wait in the sun. It wasn't for the cameras. It wasn't for praise. This was just him. That evening, when the sun had set and most of the team had left, Anna sat alone on the swing near the prop shed. Keanu passed by, noticed her, and walked over with quiet steps. Mind if I sit? She shook her head, smiled. Please. They sat side by side again, the silence warm and familiar. Anna hesitated, then reached into her bag. I wrote something, she said slowly. I don't know if I'll ever give it to you, but it helped me understand how I feel. Keanu looked at her with gentle eyes. You don't have to explain, she nodded. I know. After a pause, she said, You've taught me that it's okay to break, to rest, to be human. He smiled. You've taught me that being seen matters just as much as seeing. She looked at him. The air between them grew still. There was no rush, no pressure, no need to name anything. Just two people sitting in the soft night, understanding each other without saying all the words. Then Keanu said something that surprised her. A long time ago, I lost someone, he said quietly. And for years, I shut everyone out. Oh. I told myself it was easier to stay distant than to lose again. Anna listened, heart still, but sitting next to you, talking to you. I feel something I haven't felt in a very long time. She swallowed, the lump in her throat. What is it? She asked. Peace, he said, and maybe a bit of hope. Anna felt her eyes fill with tears again, but she smiled through them. She didn't hand him the letter, not yet, but she no longer felt like she had to hide it either. That night, she placed it gently back in her bag. Maybe tomorrow, maybe never. But it existed, just like the bond between them, quiet, real. and growing in the space between what was said and what was simply felt. The moment the world sawed next week moved gently, like soft waves against the shore. Anna and Keanu continued filming side by side. Day after day, their scenes growing deeper, richer. Their performances were no longer just acting. Something had shifted. They brought pieces of themselves into every word, every glance, every silence. The director noticed, so did the crew, but no one said anything, because some things are too sacred to interrupt. On the 5th day, they filmed a scene in a small cafe built on set. The space was quiet, with soft yellow lights and old wooden furniture. The scene was about forgiveness. Their characters, both broken by life, finally sat across from each other. Not to fix anything, but to simply listen. When the camera rolled, Anna forgot the lens was even there. Keanu looked at her with eyes that held stories. She looked back with eyes that had learned to let go. The words were scripted, but the emotion wasn't. Anna's voice trembled, not because she was performing, but because she was feeling. "I'm tired of pretending I'm fine," she said in character. Keanu replied softly, "Then don't pretend." A tear rolled down her cheek. Her lips parted to speak, but she didn't. Instead, she just reached across the table and placed her hand on his, and the scene ended. Not with a line, but with silence. The director whispered cut, but no one moved. The entire set was frozen, moved by something they couldn't explain. One of the assistant directors blinked hard and said, "That felt real." Anna stood up slowly. Her hand was still warm from Keanu's touch. She didn't say much after the scene. Neither did he. They didn't need to. That night, a photo from the set accidentally made its way online. It wasn't staged. Glamorous. It showed Anna and Keanu sitting on a bench between takes. Her head was resting on his shoulder. His eyes were closed. They looked tired, but peaceful. Within hours, the photo went viral. Fans around the world began sharing it with captions like, "This is what kindness looks like." No words, just warmth. They're not acting anymore, are they? Anna's phone buzzed, non-stop. So did Keanu's, but neither of them paid attention to the noise that evening. As the crew packed up, Anna found Keanu near the trailers, quietly sipping tea. He looked up and smiled when he saw her. "We're trending," she said, half laughing, half nervous. "I figured," he replied. She sat beside him. "People think there's something between us," she added. Keanu took a sip, then answered, "There is." Anna turned toward him. He continued, "But it's not what they're guessing. What we have. It's not for headlines. Something quieter." Anna nodded. "Something sacred." Keanu looked at her, really looked. "You taught me that being present can be louder than any fame," he said, "and that the softest moments can echo the longest." They sat in silence for a while. Then slowly Anna reached into her bag and pulled out the folded letter. She held it in her hands. For a moment she hesitated, but then she gave it to him. "Read it when you're alone," she whispered. Keanu accepted it gently. It's like it was something fragile. "Thank you," he said. Anna stood, ready to leave. But before she walked away, she turned and said, "You never left when I needed you." He smiled softly, "And I never will." That night, alone in his trailer, Keanu opened the letter. He read every word, slowly, and when he finished, he closed his eyes. He didn't smile. He didn't cry. He just felt, because something in those pages told him what he had quietly hoped. That what they were building was more than friendship. More than shared time on a set. It was something honest, something rare, and it was just beginning. The choice they both made. The final day of filming arrived with golden skies and a quiet feeling in the air. It was supposed to be a celebration, months of hard work, long hours, emotional scenes all coming to an end. But for Anna, it felt more like the end of a chapter she wasn't ready to close. She stood by the makeup trailer, watching the crew set up for the last scene. Her heart beat heavier than usual, not because of nerves, but because of something else. Keanu hadn't said anything about the letter. He had received it 3 nights ago. Since then, they had shared the same silences, the same quiet moments. It was kind, warm, just as before. But Anna could feel something had shifted in him too. He had read it, and he hadn't walked away. But he also hadn't spoken about it as the sun began to set. The director called for the final scene, a quiet farewell between their characters. It was to be filmed in a garden. With soft lights and a bench beneath a tree, Anna walked onto set and found Keanu already there, waiting. He smiled at her, gentle as always. "Last scene," he said softly. "Last scene," she echoed. They sat down. Cameras rolled. The crew hushed. Everything around them faded. In the scene, their characters were supposed to part ways. Tender goodbye. No drama, no kiss. Just one final conversation between two people who had changed each other's lives. Anna looked at him. And in that moment, she wasn't acting. She didn't need to. "Thank you," she said in character. "For being there when I needed someone." Keanu looked back at her. "You were never alone," he replied. Anna felt tears rise, unplanned. They weren't in the script. But the director didn't yell cut. Keanu reached across the bench and gently took her hand. And then he added, quietly, "Not from the script, and you never will be." Anna's breath caught in her throat. The director whispered, "Cut." But no one moved. Anna held his gaze, and then in front of the quiet crew, under the soft garden lights, she whispered back, "I know." The crew clapped quietly with respect. Not loudly. Not like an ending, but like a thank you. The director called it a wrap. Just like that. The film was done. People began packing up. Hugs were shared. Phones came out for photos. Laughter floated in the air, but Anna stood still, her fingers gently brushing the wooden bench where they had shared so many scenes. She turned and found Keanu walking toward her. He stopped just a few steps away. "I read your letter," he said. Finally, her heart pounded. "Double quotes, I know," she replied. "I didn't respond right away," he said. "Not because I didn't feel anything, but because I felt everything." Anna held her breath. Keanu stepped closer. "You said you were scared of ruining what we have, but what we have can't be ruined. It was never built on fear. It was built on trust, on moments no one else saw." He paused. "And if you're willing, I'd like to keep building." Anna blinked, trying to hold back her tears. But this time he added, offset. "Away from cameras? Just us." She smiled through tears. "I'd like that." They stood together as the sun dipped low behind the hills. No labels. No need for anything big. Just a quiet beginning, built from kindness, presence, and moments that could have easily gone unnoticed if not for the simple choice Keanu had made that day. To stay. And now, Anna was making a choice of her own. To let someone in. As the crew faded away and the lights were turned off one by one, Anna and Keanu sat on the same bench where they had filmed their final scene. No cameras, no script, just two people. And a story that was no longer fiction, because sometimes the most powerful stories are not the ones we act out. They're the ones we live.